This week on the show, we're looking at Dune 2, fake movies, curiosities, accounting, the danger zone, finally starting the fight, and more right here on the JARcast. JARcast, jigga, 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 jigga. Welcome to episode 32 of the JARcast Movie Podcast. You sexy individuals. I am Jake from Jacob Anders Reviews. That's right. This evening I'm talking in my sexy Barry White voice. Why, you may ask? Because I'm all by myself this evening. That's right, I couldn't get a host, or rather a host. I've got a host, that would be me. I couldn't get a guest to come on here and co-host with me, so I gotta make up for it somewhere, ladies. Yeah. And anyway, that's enough of that, because I'm not doing that shit the whole show. Anyway, ladies and jelly spoons, welcome to episode 32. As Barry White said there, I am Jake, and I'm here this week to talk to you about this week's movie news. Got a few things to go over this week. Nothing huge, but some really neat stories. This won't be a particularly long show, especially compared to how long my shows have been as of late. Because when you put me on here on camera talking to another individual, holy shit, they will tell you that my ass can fucking talk all night. But that's not the case tonight, because it's just me and I'm just sitting here alone in a room talking to a camera and a microphone. So, we'll see. It'll be at least half as long, I'm sure, because I could talk to a fucking wall if I had to. Anyway, moving on. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I'm having a pretty good week. Got a lot of changes and stuff going on with the channel that I will be talking about here soon. I've got an anniversary coming up, by the way, on my YouTube's channel sometime in September. Middle of September, I think is what I call it. I'll probably do some type of special stream or something where I'll talk about some stuff, maybe on my Retro Wednesday this week. I don't know. I'm really fucking scatterbrained and all over the place when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I don't really know when I want to tell personal information about myself. Probably never. But anyway, that's not what you're here to talk about, or listen to at least. You're not talking. You may be talking to me. I don't know. I hope so. Hopefully you're having a one-sided conversation with me, just anticipating what I will say and giving answers. We will see. Well, we won't, but you will. But hey, I hope you all the best if that's the case. Get some medication. Have a good week. Here we go with the first story anyway, because I'll keep going. Dune 2, ladies and germs, is ready to go. But is Warner Brothers ready to go? I don't know. Let's find out. In a roundtable interview with Denis Villeneuve attended by /Film, the Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 filmmaker shared that he's more than ready to go to work on Dune Part 2, assuming Warner Brothers signs off on it. So, for those of you that did not know, the forthcoming Dune that comes out next month in October 9th, I think, somewhere in October, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's this month. No, it's October, pretty sure. I don't know. Probably should have had that information in front of me, but I don't. Anyway, moving on. It's coming out soon, and it is a huge, epic movie. But this huge, epic movie is only based on half of the huge, epic sci-fi novel by Frank Herbert of the same name. This is a big-ass book. I can confirm that. I've said it on this show before and other places. Dune is an extremely dense book. That was one of the reasons that the original 1984 movie failed, because they tried to cram too fucking much information into one movie. So I do applaud this approach to splitting this epic book into two epic movies. However, we don't know if we're going to get the second movie yet or not. Nobody knows. Denis Villeneuve doesn't even know. He's the creator of the damn movie. But if this first one is a success, which is kind of a wild card at this point, especially in this day and age, supposedly we're going to get a sequel, so we'll get to hear the rest of the story. But there's more to it than that. Let's see what Mr. Villeneuve had to say about making this movie and what he's ready to do, and actually what he intends or would like to do. When you make a movie in two parts, necessarily when you do the first part, you have to know what you're going to do in the second part, Villeneuve explained. So I will say that I will be very ready to go quite quickly. To go quickly in a movie of that size, you still need to make sets, costumes, so we are talking about months. But if ever there's enthusiasm and the movie is greenlit sooner than later, I will say that I will be ready to shoot in 2022, for sure. 2022, for sure. I would love to, because I'm ready to go, and I will say that I would love to bring it to the screen as soon as possible. And I am happy to hear that. I'm hearing really good things about Dune. Even some of the negative reactions, which there have been more positive, but there have been some negative reactions to the film. It was finally screened to the world at the Cannes Film? It wasn't Cannes. Where was it? Venice Film Festival this past week. And most people were raving. There were some that had, there were some detractors, but the things they were saying, the issues they had, I loved it because I am a Dune fan. I love the 84 movie, even though I see all of its terrible flaws, but I'm a huge fan of the book as well. So hearing the things they said that they had issues with, I was like, well, that's from the book. So I'm happy to see that. So it is good to know that it sounds like he's ready to go as long as Warner Brothers gives him the go-ahead. And I imagine we will probably have a pretty good idea, seeing as how that is kind of the stipulation of, this has got to be a thing for us to make it another thing, which I get. Movie's pretty damn expensive, from the looks of it at least. I understand why they're saying that. So I think we'll have a pretty good idea opening weekend. Once we get those opening weekend numbers, if they are blockbuster opening weekend numbers, then hey, go Dune 2. It is, by the way, getting a split release in theaters and HBO Max. So I don't know how HBO or Warner Brothers, owner of HBO Max, actually gauges viewership on HBO Max and success. But hey, we'll find out. I envision the adaptation of two books, Dune and Dune Messiah. I said, okay, as a filmmaker, as a screenwriter, I know how to do this. So we decided to split the first novel in two. That's why we're getting this movie. So now we have to have 3 movies. Those movies are very long to make. So for my mental sanity, I decided to just dream about 3 movies because I'm a big fan of all the novels. After that, I'll see where I am. But I will say that I want to focus on the aspect of these 3 movies right now. Now that's interesting. That's the first time I've actually heard that he is not only interested in adapting the first book, but also the second book, Dune Messiah, which is, that's cool. I've read the second book as well, and the third book, I haven't really gone beyond that. And granted, the second book is not as deep as the first. Well, it's deep, but you get a lot of the information about the world in the first book, so they don't have to cram all that into the second book. That's why the second book is a little bit more accessible to those that have read the first book. So I imagine the movies will be that way as well. We'll already have kind of an idea and a vision of what this world is and kind of how it works. So going into the second one, you don't have to split it into 2. That makes sense. I'm cool with that. I'm hoping this guy gets his wish and gets to make this movie, because like I said, I love Dune, but I also love Denis Villeneuve. He has made some absolutely epically awesome movies. Arrival, while I thought Arrival was really good, people raved like crazy over that movie. They just gushed left and right. I did really like the movie. It was a great movie. I don't know if I was necessarily held it to the same standard, or on the same level rather, as everyone else did, but I did really enjoy the movie. Now Blade Runner 2049, I fucking love that movie, which is odd because when it comes to the first Blade Runner, yes, I know, hot take, and go ahead and cancel your subscription to my YouTube channel now, I am not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner. I don't hate it, I enjoy it, but more from a visual standpoint. It is a visual masterpiece. It has lots of really great ideas, but the actual story of the movie is a bit, it's okay. It's fine, I guess, but 2049 is a gorgeous movie, a deep movie, and it actually, I felt like it had more to say. Maybe that's just me, but for whatever reason, 2049 definitely resonated with me more, and that was a passion movie through and through, and I'm hoping that we get that from Dune 2. I just hope this one does better than 2049 did, because if it has the box office receipts that 2049 did, we're not going to get Dune 2, but here's hoping. Mr. Villeneuve, good luck on his release day. I will definitely be one of the ones who will be lining up to go see this in theaters. I'd love to watch it at home as well, but I want to see this huge epic movie in theaters. Please tell all your friends, tell your husbands, tell your wives, tell your kids, tell your cousins, and your uncles and nephews to go see this movie in theaters so Denny can get right on Dune 2 and we can conclude this story. All right, from there, probably the biggest story of the week. Well, I don't know if it's the biggest story of the week. It's a big story, but it is definitely coming off of one of the biggest stories of like the past month, that's for sure. And we're going to be talking about Disney and Marvel and Scarlett Johansson again, but not really specifically her. It's actually something that's happening possibly as a fallout. Now, we don't have a lot of information on this story, but what we do have is interesting. Endgame Directors may be out over the Scarlett Johansson suit. A report from the Wall Street Journal states that the sibling directing duo, the Russo brothers, were in talks with the studio to make a glorious return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe after delivering the 1-2 punch of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. However, their negotiations apparently hit an impasse amid the Johansson dispute, which reportedly led the director duo to harbor their own concerns about the unnamed film's release model and how they'll be paid. Though the mystery MCU project isn't known, previous interviews from the brothers indicate that it may be connected to their interest in tackling a film about X-Men member Wolverine or the massive superhero event Secret Wars. Okay. So the Russo brothers, those of you that aren't aware, are, as I mentioned a moment ago, the directors, the creative team, if you will. Not the only ones, but they are the directors and the creative force behind Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, two of the biggest fucking movies ever made. Endgame being the second highest grossing film of all fucking time. It was number one for a little while until it was dethroned by the previous winner, Avatar. But those are two really big fucking movies, and they also made the two Captain America movies that everyone loves, well, a lot of people love. Captain America Winter Soldier, which I still attest to being one of the best, I mean, top three at least, if not number one. It's in there, MCU films ever made. And also Civil War, which was absolutely a crowd-pleasing flick. Captain America Civil War. Everybody likes that one. That's when we got Spider-Man. That's when we got Black Panther. We got some other characters there. That's when we had like the whole, fight at the airport that everybody liked so much. Great movie. The whole thing with Tony and his dad and Bucky and all that. That's great stuff going on in that movie. I think, did they make another one? I know they made those 4 films, which, I mean, hell, those are 4 of the biggest Marvel movies out there. So my point is that these guys got clout, at least within Disney. And, I mean, they got clout outside of Disney, too. I mean, they've made other films. I mean, none of them have been to the heights of their Marvel films for sure, but they have, I mean, they've got a ton of other stuff in the works at other studios and things of that nature. So it's not like they're starving for work or anything either. But I find it interesting that amidst this whole Scarlett Johansson thing, the ramifications it's having across the industry, or especially within Marvel. Marvel does not. I mean, they might. Disney's. I will give Disney this much. They're hard nosed. They're pretty hard nosed to a degree. I am wondering, will they cave? Will Marvel or Disney rather cave to whatever the Russos are asking for? There's been rumblings that part of it, not just the how will we get paid thing, which, I mean, that's kind of important. When you take a job, you want to know, am I going to get paid? But not just that, but they also, because they've directed Scarlett Johansson in all 4 of their films, and they've developed a relationship with her, so it's not just that, but some have theorized that it's a bit of a kind of a stand situation where they're kind of like, taking a stance with her and her suit as well. And we have heard of a few people at least talking about it. This is the first we've seen of anybody possibly doing anything about it. But these guys, Marvel doesn't want to lose them. They have been cinematic gold for them thus far, as I said, producing 4 of the most popular MCU movies ever made, and financially and critically. So yeah, they definitely don't want to do that. And they're talking about giving them Wolverine or X-Men or Secret Wars, all kind of, in that same realm. Secret Wars isn't, but, they're talking about giving them these properties, one of which, or X-Men and Wolverine, that everybody's been wanting to see, or a lot of people have been wanting to see in the MCU finally. And it's halted because of this whole shit show they've got with Disney Plus and how they're screwing people over. I don't think... My understanding is, once again, I am not a lawyer. I don't understand every bit of it. I haven't read every story. But a lot of people in the industry that are dealing with this Disney issue, with the Disney Plus dual release thing, their issue isn't so much with the dual release thing. I mean, that, yeah, maybe a bit. It's that the people that already had pre-existing, mostly with the people that had pre-existing contracts before we went to lockdown, before this Disney Plus thing was a thing, because these contracts are made, long time in advance, and they're told, okay, yeah, you'll get, X amount of percentage of the profits if the movie makes this much, and yeah, they take a gamble, sure, but when it comes to these Marvel movies, it's almost a sure thing, okay, my movie is definitely going to make this much, and it's kind of a sure thing to a degree. So then when the movie is not released, well, when it's released on both, and everyone has the opportunity to sit at home and watch it, knowing, especially right now in the pandemic, a lot of people are going to, or pandemic times rather, a lot of people are going to stay home and watch it. And that doesn't count, even though Disney is getting money for that, in fact, more money per ticket, if you will, they're not going to count that towards the box office, the theatrical box office, and that's where they get their bonuses from. And the bonuses that they take, these performers and directors, they take big pay cuts because they're like, okay, it's almost a sure thing that we're going to make a lot of money on this movie, so we're going to take a pay cut on the front end and get money off of the proceeds that the movie brings in. And when it's released on this dual format, that doesn't happen. They don't get the same numbers. I mean, sure, everything that's going on in the world affects it as well, but it definitely cuts in to that. So I get why they're upset. Yes, we're talking about people. We're talking about millionaires arguing about millions of dollars. Okay, we're not talking about how much. How much money they're talking about doesn't matter. The fact of the matter, what matters is that a deal was struck. They made a deal, and Disney just won't. They're like, oh, well, it didn't make that much. Well, you didn't tell me it was going to be going to streaming. Well, we didn't say it wasn't. And that's shitty, especially when you have Warner Brothers, Paramount, and all these other companies that are saying, okay, this thing happened, so we're going to take our creators, the directors, everybody who had anything tied to the film's success that they're in, and they said, all right, we're going to cut a deal. They'll go back to the drawing board and say, we'll cut you this much, we'll cut you that. We're going to take care of you. That's how you do business. Disney, fuck you. You're doing this. You don't give a shit about your creators because you're fucking Disney. You're just so big and you can do what you want. But now it might start to bite you in the ass because you might lose your two most valuable directors. Now, on the flip side of that, whatever these projects, say it's an X-Men movie or a Wolverine movie, it doesn't matter who the fuck directs it. It's going to make money and people will go see it or watch it on Disney Plus. I mean, it might make a difference into how long-lasting its longevity and how good it is if these guys are involved or not. But the movie will make money. And I think Disney is pretty short-sighted when it comes to that. They know that they've got a few years that they could just absolutely release teetotal shit when it comes to the MCU for quite a while, and people will go see it. They'll make money. I don't think they really think beyond that, and I think that's kind of been their problem for a while, but hey, who the fuck am I? Anywho, that's really, there's not a lot that we have on the story. We just know that they're at an impasse, they're kind of stuck, and they may be walking away from Marvel and Disney. We'll see. I doubt Marvel and Disney is going to let that happen. But, it's up there. I mean, there's a story. If there's a story about it, if we know about it, then it's gotten deeper, behind the scenes, I'm sure. So I am sure that we will be hearing more about this story as it develops, and we'll find out if the Russos are going to stay on board with Marvel or go do something else. Hell, they might go the way of James Gunn and end up over at DC. I mean, that seems to be kind of like the fuck you thing that people do when they leave Marvel. Who knows? Anyway, speaking of DC... nice little transition there that I wasn't even trying to do. But speaking of DC and someone who is attached to them, this lovely lady who actually I have enjoyed the 2 films that I know that she's made. I think she's made more, but she's made 2 films that I am aware of very well off the top of my head. One of them I enjoyed very much. The other one I enjoyed okay. And they are in the same franchise. I am talking about Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984. Director and creative force Patty Jenkins, and how she says, your movie, it's fake. Yeah. Director Patty Jenkins recently voiced her objection to the day and date model at CinemaCon, which was first used by Warner Media on her film Wonder Woman 1984 before applying the hybrid model to all of their 2021 releases as a way to help boost subscriptions to their streaming service HBO Max. That's a bit misleading. It wasn't all, yes, it was, they are doing this to boost subscriptions to, all the streaming services are doing that, Disney and all of them. But that's not it. It's also because you put these movies, especially then, this came out Christmas Day, I think, of 2020. There were no movie theaters really that you could put it in. Some were open, but there were whole sections of this country and the world that were just shut, like locked down at that point still. And you couldn't put your movie out. Nobody could go. A lot of people couldn't go see it. It didn't make sense. So I don't think it's only to boost subscriptions to HBO Max, Disney Plus, or whatever, the Paramount Plus, whatever it may be. But it's a little bit of both, I think. So that's a little misleading. That's not the only thing. More of Jenkins' comments, and this is the ones that get juicy, from CinemaCon in Las Vegas have made their way online. By the way, before I go any further, that whole thing about the hybrid model, rather, is what they call it, about releasing on both, that's really up in the air. A lot of people are just kind of like, I don't think the filmmakers, I think the reason that a lot of these filmmakers are having issues with it is what I said in the last story, because it's, you're starting, you have a contract for one thing, the world fucking changed, and I think most of them at other companies were, and including here, Warner Brothers, they were satisfied because they received some type of compensation in lieu of, hey, we're going hybrid. So the other companies understood that, with the exception of Disney. So I think that part will actually rectify itself if they do continue on with this hybrid model, for however long. As movies are made and greenlit during this situation, they know it will be going to both. I think that they will be able to come to some type of agreement in the negotiation process that will make everyone happy. So I think that side of it will kind of fix itself, because I think that's most of the creators' issues until we get to this next part here. Their issues for the most part are, the world changed, but our contract didn't. But anywho, moving on, more of her comments from CinemaCon in Las Vegas made their way online, and this is the juicy part. And by the way, aren't you seeing it? All of the films that streaming services are putting out, I'm sorry, they look like fake movies to me. I don't hear about them. I don't read about them. It's not working as a model for establishing legendary greatness. Streaming is great for massive amounts of content and binging TV shows. I think they're 2 very different skill sets, and I see them succeeding at 2 very different things. That's why I think it's a mistake for the film industry to throw something away so valuable. Okay, so, opinions, they're kind of like assholes. Everybody's got one, and yeah, that motherfucker stinks. So, this is... I don't disagree with everything she's saying. I do disagree to a degree. I don't think movies on streaming services are a problem. I think, in fact, having a movie on a streaming service can kind of call out, to a degree, its quality. Yes, you could market the shit out of a movie in a theater and limit it, constrain it to where people can only see it in theaters, so it builds hype. So you have to go do this thing, go to this place to see it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie. That just means it was hyped right, it was advertised right. On streaming, you're surrounded by all these other things. I feel as if the filmmakers should be at least driven to make their movie better, make it stand out more, knowing it's going to a streaming platform, because you've got a lot more options right there, literally a fingertip or a button press away. So me myself, I don't think what she's saying is... I get what she's saying, and I mean, hey, that's her opinion, sure. I don't even mind that opinion that she thinks it's better for TV shows. It seems a little, haughty-taughty for me and kind of like a little over the top in my opinion, but whatever, that's fine. But this whole thing about your movie's fake, or I'm sorry, they look fake to me. I don't hear about them, I don't read about them, and it's not working as a model establishing legendary greatness. She's more or less saying that, these movies going to streaming, it's just not the same as theaters. And of course it's not the same experience as a theater experience, but the movie is the movie. A good movie is a good movie. And I thought that was kind of shitty of her, seeing as how she right now has greenlit like 3 blockbuster movies. The next Wonder Woman, I don't know off the top of my head, but some like large profile movies. She's okay. She's set. So she's sitting here talking from a position of power, if you will, saying these things about other filmmakers that don't have all those options. Some other filmmakers don't have the option to have a big studio release. They gotta go to streaming to get the most out of their movie, to get their movie out there to people. And that's kind of fucked up as an accomplished filmmaker at this point, someone who's in the limelight that people know. And as an independent filmmaker, if I was sitting there watching this woman who I look at and I say, hey, she did it, so can I. And she's sitting here talking shit saying, well, your movie's on streaming, so it's a fake movie. It doesn't look real to me. I'm like, well, damn, fuck you. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this shit too. I just didn't have the, Warner Brothers behind me or something like that. I didn't have a big, massive studio machine behind me. You sound kind of like a bitch. What the fuck? And she did make Wonder Woman 1984, so, she's got that against her. That's just a side note from me. Which I didn't hate that movie, okay? But admittedly, as time went on, I did think less and less of it than my initial reactions to it. I will say that much. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I took this initial comment. It's not a big deal. Of course, they are making a mountain out of a molehill here. It was just a fleeting comment, but it wasn't really the comment that bothered me. It was her, the subtext behind it, how she felt and how I kind of thought that made her look. It just makes you kind of look like a entitled ass. You're up here talking about it's not a real movie unless it goes to theater. Fuck you, asshole. Not everybody has that opportunity. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you offhand what all Patty Jenkins has made. She has done television work. Maybe that's where she got her start. I'm not sure. I think so. But we've all made... not we, but everybody who is in the film industry has started somewhere. Most people didn't just start with big-ass movies. So you had to do what you had to do to get it out there. And there's nothing wrong, because that's an achievement. That's an accomplishment in my eyes if you get your movie bought by Netflix or if you get it on HBO Max, or if you get it on even Disney Plus. Amazon Prime, not so much, because pretty much anybody can put something on Amazon Prime. I mean, hey, good on you if you do get it on there. If it's featured as an Amazon Prime original, that's good. But just having your movie on Amazon Prime, literally almost anybody can get it on there. I think to keep it on there, you have to have like a certain amount of views or something, but pretty much any movie that meets, certain censorship laws, I'm sure you can. I don't know if you can put porn on there, but anybody can put pretty much any movie on there. Keeping it's another story, like I said, but you can get it on there. That aside, though, that one caveat aside, it is an accomplishment. If I was a filmmaker, if I made a movie and Netflix called me and said, hey, we want to buy your movie. We saw it somewhere and we want to put it on Netflix. I would think I'd be like, fuck yeah. But then you got this accomplished filmmaker saying, that ain't shit. You're not real because you're not in theaters. Fuck off. I just thought that was kind of shitty. I wanted to throw it out there. There's not really anything else to this story. I just wanted to kind of talk about how I thought this person who, honestly, up to this point, given, she made Wonder Woman, which I have mad respect for. I loved that movie. I thought it was really good. The best female-led superhero movie thus far, by far, in my opinion. Nothing else is coming anywhere near it. Don't say Captain America. Don't say Black Widow. What other ones? That's kind of all we got so far. Really, like mainstream ones for sure. Definitely leaps and bounds above everything else, and even a lot of male-led ones. But they like to throw the whole female thing in there all the time when it comes to that movie. But fantastic movie, Wonder Woman 1984. It was led astray on a few things for whatever reasons, but I enjoyed her style and thought she was a good filmmaker, but this does kind of put her in a sour light to me, and maybe I'm looking too far into it, but I'm not the only one, because other people weren't real happy about these comments either, because that's like looking down from your ivory tower and talking about the peasants. That's just kind of fucked up, man. That's not how you do it. That ain't it, chief, as they say, I guess. I kind of fucked that up. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. This next story I thought was really interesting because it's talking about a lot of filmmakers and creators that I really enjoy, and the guy in charge of this thing I really like. And if you don't know his name, most of you probably do know his name, but if you're not as familiar with his work, you absolutely need to jump on this, because I think this new little thing is going to be pretty fucking cool. And I am talking about Del Toro's Curiosities are coming to Netflix. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. After their prior collaboration on the animated Troll Hunter show, Netflix is once more reteaming with esteemed filmmaker Guillermo del Toro with Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, a horror-themed anthology series. I love it. I love anthology series. They are the best. I love anthology movies. I love anthology series. Very Twilight Zone, that whole thing. And it's horror-based, and it's Guillermo del Toro. It's going to be fucking awesome, I guarantee it. The man is, in my eyes, much like James Cameron. When his name is attached to something, I know it's going to be quality, and there's a good chance I'm going to find something in it I like. But he's not the only cool name in it. The series will run for 8 episodes, and each installment will boast unique takes on the genre from some of the most thrilling names in the business, such as Del Toro himself, Essie Davis, aka the director of The Babadook, David S. Goyer, which wrote and directed Dark City, wrote The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, Academy Award-winning actor F. Murray Abraham. If you don't know who that is, look him up. Amadeus and Last Action Hero. I know there's other things, better things he's been in, but that's what I remember him from. Crispin Glover, you know him, Back to the Future, kind of weird, but out there. But hey, his movies are always interesting. And Peter Weller, aka RoboCop. There's a whole lot of other names that are attached to this thing too, and it's coming soon. It's coming real soon on Netflix. I think, because that's really all the information we have right there. We don't really have any story synopsis or anything. I'm sure we'll get some sort of a trailer in the coming months. This could be really cool. If you're not familiar with Del Toro's work, he has made, I think what shot him to more mainstream fame would be the Hellboy movies. Not that 2019 abomination, but the Hellboy and Hellboy 2. But then he made the absolutely fantastic must-watch Pan's Labyrinth. I don't care if you don't like subtitles or dubs. Go watch that movie. It is a beautiful, deep, affecting film. That is such a good movie on so many different levels. He also made a lot of movies in his early career that he did go into horror. A lot like, he's kind of like a Mexican Peter Jackson. Seriously, I mean that in like the best way too. But he made a movie called Devil's Backbone. I think that was his first film, his first, like, not real film, but you know what I mean. That was a creepy movie. Also, he made a film called Kronos with Hellboy himself was in it. Oh, what is his name? Ron Perlman and some other gifted actors. That was a really good flick as well. And of course, he made later on big movies like Pacific Rim. He was attached to The Hobbit for a long time. He's made lots of good stuff. And he's been, what is he working on now? Besides this, of course, he's working on something big right now. He made the movie, the water one that won Academy Awards all over the place a couple of years ago. Shape of Water, I think it's called. I'm pretty sure it's Shape of Water. Pretty sure. Or Sound of Water, or Shape of Water, one of those. The thing with the guy who looked like Abe Sapien from Hellboy was in it, and the woman who's deaf, I believe, and she falls in love with this aquatic creature at a 1950s or 60s military base. Yeah, it's that strange, but it's a good movie too. But Guillermo del Toro is a master of horror, if you will, in my opinion, or at least the odd. I like this Cabinet of Curiosities, because that's what a lot of his movies are. They're not always straight up horror or even sci-fi. They're curious. There are many curiosities in his movies, so I think this could be really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing an anthology series with all these big names in it. This could be badass. I think it will be badass, not it could be. So yeah, that's all we really got on it. They don't have a release date as of yet, but it is coming real soon, and my understanding is that it's coming in 2022. Now apparently he has already collaborated with Netflix on an animated I don't know if it's a movie or a show. Oh, a show called Troll Hunters. I'm not familiar with that. I did not see that. I didn't realize he was involved in it. I might check it out now. But that might be I don't know if that's a good barometer for his work or not. I don't know what all he did on that. But definitely check out those other movies. Pan's Labyrinth, hands down, is the one. If out of nothing else, if you check out nothing else that I mentioned or that's on his filmography, watch Pan's Labyrinth. It is fucking amazing. And I think this show is going to be really damn good too. And I'm absolutely looking forward to it. And will be there day one to check it out. Okay, on a totally different note, not really, actually, there is a connection between Mr. Del Toro and this next story, at least a real far back early connection. He actually, this particular thing that we're getting here, he was involved early on in the movie version that they were working on in the early 2000s of this film. At some point in time, he was involved. And then he wasn't. And Peter Jackson as well. I mentioned him a moment ago. He was involved in the movie version of this as well. If you haven't guessed yet what I'm talking about, and many of you probably haven't because that's an old story, and I'm probably one of the only people that really kept up with it. Halo, the TV show that they've been talking about for literally years now, and supposedly it's been in pre-production all the time, and production. I think they are filming or have done filming. Well, Halo is about to start the fight in 2022. That's right, Halo fans and just science, sci-fi, badass, awesome property fans. Halo is finally coming. Supposedly, it is concretely said that it will be out in 2022, but there have been a few changes to that release. Viacom CBS Streaming has again verified that a TV series based on the game Halo will premiere on Paramount Plus now in 2022. We also have a better idea now of why Halo made the move from Showtime to Paramount Plus. Okay, so yeah, and Viacom owns both of them, by the way. It was initially announced for Showtime, and it was going to be like a Game of Thrones level budget and everything and scale on Showtime. Showtime wanted a Game of Thrones-esque show, not esque, but more type of show that was like that size, and they opted for Halo. And Halo absolutely has the lore for it. There's tons and tons of deep story and lore there. But for whatever reason, which we're about to read here, it has pivoted. The show is all the same people involved, all the same stuff, but it has pivoted over to Paramount Plus. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, because Paramount Plus you really just don't hear much about. Anyway, concerning the Paramount Plus move, Jana Winograde and Gary Levine, the co-presidents of Showtime Entertainment, said, "We love Halo. We have great affection for it, and that's a good fit because we continue on at the studio. So we're going to be intimately involved with the creative and production of it." Okay. But the truth is that it was always a bit of an outlier for us in terms of its fit in the Showtime universe. What is the Showtime universe? It's like HBO or something. What? Okay, anyway. We did an amazing job of imbuing into the series the character drama that we're so well known for. Is Showtime known for that? I don't really know. What's a Showtime show? I don't know. I'm sure there's one I've heard of, but I wasn't aware that it was a Showtime show. I mean, you know what HBO shows are, but really, what's a Showtime show? I know Showtime was big when, like, cable was a thing, but now that most people have cut the cord or really just don't use it much, I mean, is Showtime a thing? I don't know. So when Paramount Plus came into being... Oh, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, it's a big, broad, big tent show. So when Paramount Plus came into being, it really was a natural fit there. I think it would have been a natural fit had Paramount Plus, and it may still be, I don't know. But as of right now, Paramount Plus, at least in the, everybody's mind space, it does not occupy a lot of people's mind space. I don't know how their numbers are doing. Maybe it's doing great, I just don't even realize it. But mind space wise, nobody really talks about Paramount Plus. And why does that make it a fit? Sure, the idea behind Paramount Plus is big. It's pretty much an HBO Max or a Disney Plus or something like that. It's a very studio-specific streaming service with like big movies, the fast movies and things like that. But I mean, who has it? Does anybody have it? I have it. I have it because I need it to watch movies and review them as they come out. The ones that are specific to that, was that Mark Wahlberg movie, Infinite, I think it was. That movie was fucking terrible. Anyway, who has it? Nobody. I don't ever hear anybody say, "Oh, last night I watched such and such on Paramount Plus." I mean, last time I looked at it, I mean, it has good selections. Paramount has a long lineage of movies, and a lot of them are on there, but I mean, who really? I don't know. But anyway, maybe it'll grow between now and then. I just feel like Halo does command a lot of respect. It has, because of the games, of course, it has a huge rabid fan base, and maybe they're hoping that this will bring that fan base and more over to Paramount Plus. But I don't think the fan base is all you want. You don't only want the people that are familiar with the games. You want to if you want a Game of Thrones level kind of show, you got to get, because that's like saying you only wanted people that were fans of the books to watch the show. You got to have people that aren't fans of any of it, that just are new to it all, and they come in and they watch it and they get engrossed in it. And I mean, the show may be there if they follow, if they go along with the lore, the previously established lore, and just expand upon that. It's definitely there, but I just don't. Your viewership is, I want to say small, because I just don't hear anybody talk about it. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy we're finally getting the show, and it's supposed to be big and epic, and they are spending a shit ton of money on it. And to do it right, to do it justice, you would have to spend a fair amount of cash on it. But Paramount Plus just seems like an odd choice to me. I wonder if that's the only place it'll be. Maybe it'll come somewhere else as well. We'll see. Spending that amount of money on something like that, and then, you know, if they don't see a return on investment, I imagine we might see it pop up other places. Have no idea. We'll see. But yeah, Halo fans, and just fans of big budget sci-fi awesomeness, we're getting something awesome in the form, well, possibly awesome in the form of Halo sometime in 2022, apparently. And I, myself personally, am looking forward to it because I am a really big Halo fan. Anyway, on to sequels, reboots, and all that stuff. That's the rest of the show. Not a lot of show left here. I told you this one wasn't going to be as long. And these next stories are a little bit shorter, but this is more of information to let you guys know of some shit that is coming. And the first one on the docket, the first one on the books, if you will, is The Accountant. What? That Ben Affleck movie, remember it? The Accountant, Part 2. It's finally on the books. It is coming for sure. World Rejoice? Maybe? I don't know. Does anybody remember that movie? I do, in fact, remember The Accountant, and I was not looking forward to that movie when it came out in 2016, I believe it was, 16, 17, and I just didn't get where they were going with it, and then I saw it, and it was actually a really fun movie. It's basically about a guy with, I think he had autism, or he had something, it was like autism or something along those lines, Ben Affleck's character. And he works for, like, he is an accountant for the mafia, I believe, or something like that. A criminal organization. But he's also, like, super badass with, like, in pretty much just everything. He's all around badass. He's, like, proficient with gunplay, and he'll take anybody out, and martial arts and everything. But he is autistic and has lots of tics as well. And John Bernthal shows up at one point. Don't want to spoil it. If you haven't seen it, it definitely is worth checking out. If you've never heard of it or seen it or anything, it's a weird premise, like when you read about it or hear about it, but when you see it, it works. It's an action movie, but it's a good time. It was they had an interesting spin on this action movie that I was surprised they actually made work, and it was really entertaining throughout. But this is not about The Accountant. This is about The Accountant 2. The Accountant 2 is coming. The sequel was first announced back in 2017. However, last year we got word that the sequel might not actually happen, but a TV show spinoff was a possibility. That sounds like a terrible idea, by the way. Now it looks like the sequel is happening after all. During a recent podcast appearance, accountant director Gavin O'Connor revealed the deal for the sequel was just finalized, and that stars Ben Affleck and John Bernthal are both to return. Oh, I'm sorry, both likely to return. So I actually misread that earlier. I thought it said they were both returning. It's good to hear that the deal is signed, so we are definitely getting the accountant too. But if they can't get Ben Affleck back, John Bernthal, I mean, it'd be great to have him back, especially with the way it sounds like they're going with the story in this one. But if you can't get Ben Affleck back, I don't really know if you've got an accountant too at that point. But he says they're likely to return. Hopefully we hear they're definitely returning soon. I missed that earlier. Anyway, O'Connor added that he wanted to not just do one sequel, and here's where things get squirrely, but two, making a full accountant trilogy. Everybody got to do a fucking trilogy nowadays. What the hell? So, in his words, I've always wanted to do 3, because what the second one going to be more with, we're going to integrate his brother into the story, so there'll be more screen time for John Bernthal in the second one. And then, the third movie's going to be, I call it Rain Man on steroids. That, I'm sure, somehow is offensive to somebody. I don't know. Not to me, but somebody. Anyway, the third movie is going to be the two brothers, this odd couple. The third one is going to be a buddy picture. Fuck. Look, I am down because I enjoyed the first one for an accountant sequel, and where they from where I remember they left it, I guess, yeah, you can get more story out of it. It really depends on what direction they go with it. It's left open enough to where the characters can continue on. The story in the first one is handled and sorted, but they leave it open where you have characters that survive and move on, so you could have more further adventures with these characters. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but you know what? They surprised me with the first one, so I'm down to see another one. But a third one, I mean, who knows where they go with the second one? Maybe I'll say the same thing about the third one, but this whole two brothers, the odd couple, a buddy picture, I don't know, that seems very different from what the accountant was, in my opinion. But you know, this guy's got a vision, and he had a vision with the first one and he made it happen. So I'm gonna, until I am given a reason to, besides reading an article, to be afraid, I guess I'll just be excited, or at least cautiously optimistic. I am more optimistic though for this sequel. Now, I mean, it hasn't even started shooting. It probably hasn't even really started pre-production as of yet, since they just finalized the deal the other day. Probably going to be going into pre-production at some point here in the future. So it's probably going to be a couple of years till we get this movie. But hey, you know, you heard it here first, unless you heard it somewhere else. The Accountant 2 is coming. And if you haven't seen The Accountant, go check it out. You can probably find it. I'm sure it's on a streaming service somewhere. It's worth checking out. It's one of those little unknown gems that a lot of people didn't see, but it's surprising. You'll go into it and you'll be like, oh, you know, I didn't expect that. That was a fun movie. It definitely surprised me, and most people I talked to about it, it surprised them as well. Okie dokie. So here's another one. This, I've actually already reported on this however many episodes back. A few months ago, I believe, I reported on this sequel. We knew it was coming, we just didn't know when. We had a pretty good idea just based on what it surrounds, but now we have a much better idea as to when this sequel's coming, and man, this bitch is coming in hot. So Paranormal Activity, or the new Paranormal Activity, is going to be haunting October. Yes, you heard that right. Less than a month away. Not that it's being released less than a month away, but that's when October is. And we've not seen a screenshot, a trailer, or anything about this movie. Tanya Giles, Chief Programming Officer of Viacom CBS Streaming, revealed that the new Paranormal Activity movie would hit Paramount Plus, there they go with that again, in time for Halloween, and it would be accompanied by a making of documentary. Giles said, a new Paranormal Activity from Paramount Players should bring fans an unexpected reimagining of the beloved horror franchise. Is it beloved, though? I mean, at first it may have been, but where it ended up going, is it? I don't know. We'll also be launching a documentary of the making of the Paranormal Activity feature, both of which will be coming to the service in time for Halloween. So as long as this bitch is out by October 30th, they're meeting their quota there. So approximately a month and a half from when you may or may not be listening to this. So I don't know, and we still don't have, at best, we're a month and a half out from this movie, and we've not seen a screenshot, trailer, or anything. That's odd. don't know, they're going to like shadow drop this shit so you know nothing about it? Producer Jason Blum said, Paramount wanted to continue Paranormal Activity. I probably would have left it alone. That's not good. So they wanted to continue it, but I thought if they were going to continue it, you gotta. It was tired, where there was no way to continue with the road that we've been down. So I really encouraged all the creative people involved to think of something new. A lot of people who are going to see the new Paranormal Activity were 3 years old when the first Paranormal Activity came out. So they don't even know from those older movies. What? So they don't even know from the... This is worded really weird, and I know it's a direct quote, so I don't know. Maybe he was having a stroke while he was reading it. I get the idea, though. A lot of the people were really young when the movie came out that are, would be watching it now, so they don't even really know anything from those movies. I thought if you're going to redo it, you better really redo it, not try to expand on what we did all those years ago. I'll give him that. It sounds like that expansion, they took that a bit far anyway. They were doing a bit much, and with the later films especially. I haven't seen them, but I've heard nothing but bad things about them. So I remember I've seen the first few, like 2 or 3, and I was already starting to lose interest, but they kept on going for at least another 2 or 3 movies after that. So yeah, probably not a good idea to expand upon something that is kind of universally seen as lackluster at this point, as far as like where they went. And a reboot, that sounds like a better idea to me as well. Me, myself, personally, I'm not excited for this movie. I'll watch it because I have a YouTube channel where I review movies, but I was never the biggest Paranormal Activity fan. I know it's got lots of fans out there, especially the early films. I do hope that it gets back in line with those early films as far as quality and originality goes, but I hope it doesn't just retell that story or tell the same tried and true thing. I'm sure it has to stay found footage because that's just kind of Paranormal Activity's thing. If they get away from found footage, it's almost like, why are you even calling it Paranormal Activity at that point? So I'm pretty sure it will be found footage. But what are they going to do with that? There's been a lot of shit done with found footage. I don't know. Should we know by now? Sure. We're a month and change out from the movie, and we know fuck all nothing about it except it's coming. So we should probably have an idea of that as of now, but we don't. I gotta imagine, especially since they're talking about it openly at CinemaCon now and giving at least released windows, we gotta be getting a trailer soon. I mean, they've got to put some type of trailer out and promote this movie, besides these little blurbs right here that most people don't read. I don't know. How about you guys? I mean, since I'm not much of a fan, I don't really have a lot of input on this thing. It's coming. What do you guys think? Do you think, we got any Paranormal Activity fans out there? Are you looking for the new Paranormal Activity or the reboot or redo or whatever, reimagining, whatever it is? What do you guys think? Do you think it could be good? Could not be? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I mean, I don't ever wish any movie to be bad, especially when it's a movie I'm going to have to watch. So I hope it's good, if nothing else, for the fact that I don't want to be bored out of my fucking mind for 2 hours. Yeah, selfish reasons, but it is what it is. Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen, on to the last story of the night. I'm kind of off tonight. This is an interesting one. Once again, it does have to do with releases, but also it has to do with, unfortunately, delays. More delays again. What the hell? I thought we were done with these delays. No, they're still coming, and this proves that they come for the best of us and in the most dangerous places, because Top Gun Maverick is not entering the danger zone anytime soon as we thought. Okay, so this movie's been delayed a lot, but short little blurb here, just some information. Top Gun Maverick will now officially open the summer season on May 27th, 2022, Memorial Day, and had been set to open over Thanksgiving weekend on November 19th of this year. Yeah, it had, but they're leaving out a bit of information as to where this movie also had quite a few other release dates throughout the years that it's supposed to have come out. I am pretty sure this movie, it was definitely slated to come out in 2020. It had release dates, I think you can find the trailers where it's summer of 2020, over a year ago at this point. And now they're pushing it out all the way to fucking May of next year. And I think, I could be wrong, I think originally it had an even earlier release date. and it got pushed to summer of 2020 because I think it was supposed to come out before the pandemic or right around I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But it definitely was coming out, I'm pretty sure it was July of 2020 or something like that. And then it was one of the ones that got delayed, which that made sense. I get that. But damn, they delayed it. And I mean, it was coming out on Thanksgiving weekend. I think that wouldn't be, it's only theaters. It's theaters only. So, I mean, it would, sure, there's still stuff going on in the world, but damn, stop delaying this fucking movie. We want to see Tom Cruise fly jets. But that's not the only thing. That's not the only delay we have from Mr. Cruise. Mission Impossible 7, which, holy shit, we've heard a lot about that movie with like the lockdowns and everything, moves from May 7th, 2022. I'm sorry, moves from May 27th, 2022 to September 30th, 2022. And Jackass Forever moves from October of this year to February of 2022. So it got a few months push out to February. So I thought it was weird that Top Gun Maverick took Mission Impossible's day, so they bumped Mission Impossible up 6 fucking months. Poor movie. That movie is getting so much shit. But Maverick's been done. Top Gun Maverick has been done for like at least a year and a half, if not longer. That movie's just sitting somewhere in a can. I can't believe it hasn't been like pirated or something by this point. It's just out there. It's just ready. I mean, assuming the movie was done, because I mean, they had a release date of at least last summer, so it's been done since at least last summer. This movie's just hanging out. What the fuck? When are we going to see this Top Gun movie? Top Gun fans out there, the world around, are probably, I don't know, is anybody like super looking forward to this movie? I think people thought the trailer was cool because it was kind of like, because it was really quick and just real quick and had lots of like Top Gun fan service in it. I think people would really like the trailer, but are a ton of people really looking forward to Maverick? I mean, I want to see it, but I mean, I'm not like, fuck yeah, man, Maverick. I didn't see this news and like cry into my, socks or something, whatever the fuck that means. What the hell, socks? Where did I get that? But anyway, I didn't like start crying because of this. I was just like, whatever, this is normal now. This movie's been delayed about 15 times. But I mean, whenever I see this movie, okay, fine, I saw it. I don't know, is that just me? Do I live in like a weird little bubble and I don't realize that the world over is like super hyped for this movie? Is that the problem? Maybe is it really the pandemic, or is it that people aren't as hyped for this movie as they want them to be, so they keep delaying it out? And they're like, why aren't people more hyped for Top Gun 2? Push it out and we will like further the hype machine. But they don't really further it. They put like a trailer out and they're like, get hype. No, it takes more than that. It's marketing. People look into it. Anywho, if you're a fan of Mr. Cruise and you're looking forward to Top Gun Maverick and MI7, you got a little bit longer to wait. MI7 may be kind of like, oh man, I wasn't expecting that. But Top Gun, I mean, shit, at this point, it's becoming a Black Widow kind of situation, to where I don't fully believe that this movie exists until I finally sit down and get to watch it, because it's been delayed so many times. So, and in or around May 27th, 2022, barring another delay, I will let you know if this movie does actually exist, or if it has all just been a really, really, really poor marketing campaign to see if they can drum up excitement for something. I don't know. Stop delaying the fuck. Well, just put it out on fucking. Who makes this? I think Paramount. Makes this. Just put it out on fucking. There you go. Put it on Paramount Plus or Netflix or whatever. I don't know. Just put the fucking movie out. They'd probably thrive better there anyway. I don't know. They're all against fucking net streaming services and all that anywho. But okie dokie, guys. There you go. As I said, show's not going to be as long this week as it has been. That's all I had story-wise to go over. We got a couple other things to look at real quick before we get out of here. But story-wise, that's all I got. Because, like I said, it's just not a ton of stuff going on in Hollywood that I wanted to report on, at least. This is the stuff I was interested in. And hopefully you are as well. Hope you guys got some good information there. Hope I didn't break any hearts with Top Gun being delayed and some of the other things we have that have been delayed or pushed out or said or whatever. Any filmmakers in there? I think Patty Jenkins is a bitch now because she said your movie's fake because it went to streaming. Hope not. I didn't like those comments. But yeah, that's the week in news, according to Jake for sure. But what else do we got coming up? Okay, so our releases for this week. No Tuesday, Wednesday releases, but Thursday, that's a weird release day. Thursday, September the 9th, we have a movie called Time Is Up. I've heard of this movie. I don't know anything about it, though. Friday, September 10th, we have one that I absolutely have heard of that I'm really looking forward to and will be reviewing on my channel. James Wan's Malignant, which actually looks pretty cool. Very interesting, at least. I think it could go either way. I have a lot of faith in James Wan. We also have The Card Counter, which is getting a lot of praise. I don't know anything about it, but I assume it's about a card counter. But that's been getting a lot of praise lately. A film called Queen Pins and Small Engine Repair. I do not know anything about either of those. I know about Small Engine Repair. I have a bit of a background in repairing small engines, but as far as the movie Small Engine Repair, I am not. I don't know anything about it. Never heard of it. Kind of want to check it out because it has such a just straightforward, in your kind of like to the point name. I kind of want to see what that's about now. Wish I'd looked in advance. But that's what we got as far as the releases go this week. No trailers to really look at this week because, yes, some came out, but they were all like days and days and days ago, and you've probably all seen them by now. Nothing has come out in the past 1 or 2 days that's really like, oh, I'm going to do a trailer reaction to that. And I'm probably going to be getting away from those on here anyway. I will, by the way, before I get into the plugs and get out of here, let you guys know, those of you that are still here and those of you that tune into the show each week, I will be continuing the show. There was a period of time where I was wondering if I will or not. I've got a number in mind to where I'm going to get to. I have a milestone I will get to episode-wise with the show, and I'm going to decide then, does it continue on? It's a ways off now, so don't worry. But I do, those of you, don't worry if you like the show. Be looking forward to it if you fucking hate it. But I do plan on, as I have been for the past month or so, month or two, month and a half, I do plan on having guests more times than not. This week was a bit of an anomaly. There's just a lot going on right now. I will go ahead and let you guys know there may be a couple of weeks, and it won't be up together, but there might be a week or two here or there that I will let everyone know in advance that I may end up having to skip an episode and or skip a week. Well, not skip an episode, but skip a week because, as I mentioned at the top of the show so vaguely, there's just things going on. Nothing really bad, just moving things going on in my life right now where I might not be available to shoot the show at that time, and more light shed on that later on. But that might happen. I'm not 100% sure if it will or not. I will still try and get the show, but I do plan on having guests. I've really enjoyed that. I will be going on another podcast that I know of. I don't know when it's coming out. I will let you guys know. I don't want to throw it out there yet, but I'm definitely going on another podcast in the next few weeks to talk about a specific thing. I've been invited on a show. I'm excited to go on there. I'll let you guys know when that happens and where to check that out. I know that was really like, why did I even say that? I gave you no information besides I will give you information later. But hey, what it is what it is. That's how my brain works. But yeah, that's it, guys. I just wanted to kind of give you an update. Oh, what I was going initially getting to is I will be making some changes to the format of the show eventually. I'm going to have some time on my hands where I can kind of brainstorm and make it a little bit less, I don't know, it's going to be probably a little bit less story-based, like weekly story-based. Still going to be dealing with movies, but I'm thinking about the past few weeks, I had kind of like dived into specific movies or things, and just with my guests, and I kind of enjoyed that more. And I think I'm going to start leaning more into something like that, and we may talk about some big stories here or there, work them into it all, but I think we're going to be just talking about specific things. Each show is probably going to be a bit more centered around a thing or things, something that have something in common, like maybe a series or a movie or something like that, where we'll kind of deep dive on it or talk about it or something like that. I don't know, the news thing is just, I'm losing some interest in it here or there. I find things I have interest in, but I'm finding myself finding less and less stories that I'm either have interest in or I'm willing to report on. And I think that I've seen more interactions from you guys on the shows where that's not the focus, and the focus is more with me and one of my guests talking about a specific thing. And that's when I've had the most fun. So there will probably be a pivot at one point. Maybe not like one pivot, but you'll probably see less news stories here in the coming shows, and more focused talks about something in particular. And I may or may not be going to Patreon to run polls and get suggestions on things to talk about. So yeah, some subtle changes. Not really subtle, it's a big change, but changes to the show coming. But it's still going to be me, it's still going to be them, and we're still going to be talking shit about movies and entertainment and having a good time with it. Anyway, that's about all I got, guys. Only thing I have beyond that is my plugs for the week. I do have upcoming reviews coming. Of course, if you're listening to this on opening or premiere night, tomorrow, number 5 in my video game movie, or not video game, that's way done, my comic book movie review series, which was supposed to come out last week, but I ended up with another movie that I wanted to direct, that I wanted to review instead, so I skipped it. And that is Vault of Horror. It's a pseudo-sequel to 1972's Tales from the Crypt. That will be coming tomorrow, Wednesday, as they usually do. I will also be releasing, I'll be getting caught up on that, the one that was supposed to, the comic book movie review that was supposed to come out this week, which would have been The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat after Vault of Horror. I already have that one done, and it will be coming out later on the weekend. So I'll kind of get caught up. So next week we'll be right back where I should have been. Aha, see? Came back and got it. I also, this Friday, will have furthering my Friday the 13th series review. It's Friday, so you're getting Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. And yeah, that was an interesting one. That one's coming. And as I said, 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat. I also have a Patreon request of Memories of Murder. That one actually got pushed. Sorry, Greg C. I know you recommended that one and or requested that one as is one of your perks in your Patreon tier, and I very much appreciate it. It is still going to be this month, so I'm fulfilling that obligation, but I know that I had told you or shown you on my schedule it will be a bit earlier. It got pushed out a week and a half, somewhere in that neighborhood. You can see the new schedule on Patreon, and it tells you there, because I got a screener of something else coming that I need to put out a little bit earlier, so it's a good spot. So sorry, but yeah, it's still coming this week, or this month, don't worry. And of course, there will be more on top of that. This Wednesday, Retro Wednesday, which if you're watching on premiere night, will be tomorrow night. I am playing the horror-themed full-motion video interactive movie, The Night Book. Pretty much a movie where we just make some decisions here or there and watch it. If you've frequented Retro Wednesday, you are familiar with these types of games because I love them and I play them quite a bit. I usually go through spells where I play a whole bunch of them. And we played one last week, which was kind of dull. But hopefully this one looks a bit more exciting and horror themed. So that's looks like it could be a scary good time. So yeah, The Night Book, that's coming tomorrow evening. And there it is, ladies. And only you ladies. That's all I got for you. I hope it was enough. I hope you loved it. I hope it was fulfilling. It usually is. If it wasn't, you let me know and we'll take care of that for you. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. Anyway, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this evening. It's been a while since I've done one of these solo, so I'm kind of all over the place, but I really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some information. Hope you look forward to some of the stuff coming soon. Check out my channel, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Like this video as well. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, check out my channel and all the things I just said. And I got lots of reviews and things that come there. New movies, old movies, all the movies. If you're listening or if you're watching the video portion of this, check out the audio version. It's on all major podcasting platforms. I really would appreciate the click. It'll help get me up there so maybe some more people will start to show some interest in the show. That is the dream. So more, I do this because I enjoy it, but it sure is great when people get to see it too, or listen to it. So yeah, visually or auditorily, is that a word? I don't know, but yeah, go check out this little show that I put together each week, wherever you like, wherever you want. And that is it. Thanks, guys. I will see ya next week.